Hey, hey,
Hello, how are you, Bryan?
I'm doing well. How are things up there?
They are great. It is springtime in Colorado. We have bees around our little bee hut we made.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
wonderful.
That's cool.
It's wonderful, and this is Dream Idiots. My name is Morris. That other fellow is Bryan. Each week, we take turns telling stories about stuff, and the other guy kind of, sort of, maybe reacts to it. Bryan, you have any information or things to share or stuff to talk about before we get started?
Nothing in the least bit helpful, but we do appreciate you hanging in there and liking and sharing and subscribing our content. We did, after pondering it for a while, we did sort of break off another podcast. So if you go and search on our stuff, there's Dream Idiots, which I hopefully you have subscribed to if you are hearing my voice right now. There's also just Crime Idiots. So going to be repurposing some of our true crime content and making it live over there. And there will be some new original true crime content that just lives on the feed for Crime Idiots. So feel free to check that out. Last week's episode was actually placed in both of those feeds. So both of them, Crime Idiots, Dream Idiots, all the content lives at dreamidiots.com. But please like, share, and especially subscribe. And if you can give us a review too, that'd be great. And then if you have any story ideas or suggestions for curse words of the week, you can go to our website and hit the contact us form and drop us a line.
Yes, and if you have any friends who are solely into true crime, point them towards Crime Idiots and remind them that the idiots in question, well, that's us. It's not the victims or the criminals. It's these two guys talking about true crime.
Right. It's us making fun of it.
Um, yes, and we are indeed idiots. But we've got all kinds of stories over there: missing people, murder, heists, all kinds of stuff. So check that out because Bryan one day sat down and said, "Do you realize we've actually done a lot of true crime?" And I was like, "Oh no, I actually did not realize that." But a lot of what we
And
do
and
does fall into true crime. So
and they are among our most downloaded, listened
yeah,
to episodes. So
yeah,
by leaps and bounds.
including the guest genius episode we had about art theft, which was
Uh-huh.
fantastic as well. Okay, are we ready to get started, Bryan?
We are.
Okay, this is episode 170. Bryan, if you recall way back in episode 117, do you remember episode 117, Bryan? No?
No.
Okay. We took a look
uh,
at the edited final lines of famous novels. You
okay.
recall
Oh
that
yeah.
now?
Yeah,
Where
sure.
we talked about how editors
Mhm.
stepped in, the editorial process steps in and makes things better. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it hinders it. So what I wanted to do in this episode is take a look at 15 opening lines to famous novels
Okay.
that had been hit by the editors had they not taken a stance. In one case, however, the author got their way and it stayed the way it was. We'll talk about that. Some of these actually include editors' comments this time, so this should be pretty good. Bryan, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's start with a novel that just celebrated its centenary last year. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, a book we have talked about at length here on the show. Bryan, can you rattle off the first lines of that book? I bet you can.
No, I
He's doing
can't.
that. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice I've been turning over in my head ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. So what
Yeah,
does that do for
I
us?
recall that now. Huh.
What does it do for us though for the narrator? It sets up this idea that he's got some kind of moral framework he's going to be working from, right?
Hmm.
Our narrator Nick Carraway. Well, originally F. Scott had considered a very different beginning to the book. Did you know that?
No.
Okay. So the original line, as F. Scott wrote it, was in my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice I've been turning over in my head ever since. When your balls get sweaty and stuck to your thigh, don't make that weird high step motion to unstick them too obvious in public.
Huh.
My son turned me on to that. I didn't realize that. The editor's note for it was this seems highly specific, Scott. It's sort of like Chekhov's gun. If you talk
Yeah,
about
it
this,
feels like there's a story behind this.
if you mention the sweaty balls and trying to unstick them from your thigh, you better show that in your novel at some point. To my knowledge, that never appears in The Great Gatsby.
Right.
Bryan, are you a big for number two? Are you a big Stephen King fan? I don't think you are you?
I am not. Loved the Shining, the book.
Hmm.
Um,
Very good. It's one of his best. Yeah.
And I know I've read a few of his short stories, but The Stand or I mean his longer things, like I just can't. Oh God, I just
My
can't do it.
I stick with his S's: The Stand, The Shining, and Salem's Lot, which is actually my favorite. But
Hmm.
this one actually is the first line to Cujo from 1978.
Hmm.
Now, Stephen King wanted this. This is how important this book was. He wanted his original first line idea. He wanted to use this for multiple novels because, as you probably know, in the years since, he has tried to connect all his novels together. Like
Hmm.
a character from It will show up in Shining, and a character from, I believe, in 11/22/63, a character shows up from another novel, right? And that's about JFK, and so he kind of wanted to set that shared universe up early. The original line, or the line that was printed, that is, and it's a great opening line to a novel. Once upon a time, not so long ago. Let me start that over. Once upon a time, not so long ago, a monster came to Castle Rock, Maine. That's a great opening line. I mean,
Hmm.
it sets up everything. It's the idea that the story is still within recent memory. It wasn't so long ago. What is this monster? What is Castle Rock, Maine? What happens? Now, his original idea for this was much different. The original line was supposed to be cocaine, 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 cocaine. And the editor's note said, Steve, we've discussed
No
this.
bueno.
No. That, I believe, is the book that he claims that he doesn't remember writing thanks to alcohol and drugs.
Oh,
Cujo. He
really?
says, I have no memory of reading it, of writing it. Yeah. Bryan, let's get classic. Let's get classic on your ass here. Little Women, Louisa May Alcott. You ever read
Hmm.
that?
I'm
1868.
sure that I did, and I've seen I've seen at least two film versions of it, but I feel confident it was a sign reading at some point in high school
Well,
or something.
it starts off with a wonderful scene with the four sisters discussing what Christmas is going to look like because they're really struggling, right? The family's really struggling. And it's more of an opening scene than an opening line I'm going to talk about here because it's filled with dialogue where it just starts off, boom, with the girls talking. Here's the printed version that appeared after the editors got a hold of it. Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, grumbled Joe, lying on the rug. It's so dreadful to be poor, sighed Meg, looking down at her old dress. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have plenty of pretty things and other girls nothing at all, added little Amy with an injured sniff. We've got father and mother and each other, said Beth contentedly from her corner. So it kind of sets up the personalities of the four girls that,
Right.
it's these girls talking about what Christmas is going to be like now that they're down on their luck. Alcott had a different opening in mind, which went something like this.
Cocaine. No, sorry.
Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, grumbled Joe. So dreadful to be poor, sighed Meg. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have plenty of pretty things and other girls nothing at all, added little Amy. How fair's this? Yelled Beth, whipping her torn and patched petticoat over little Amy's head and cutting a loud, long, hot, wet fart. Dutch oven, Dutch oven, Dutch oven, chanted Joe and Meg, while little Amy cried and tried to laugh, as she was very upset, but her sister's noxious effluvium was most amusing.
Effluvium.
The editor's note for this just kind of shows the time we were living in back then.
Hmm.
This is not realistic. Girls do not, in fact, cut farts. That was all the editors had to say about that. Um, Bryan, here's another book we've talked about.
Hmm.
Charles Dickens from 1859, A Tale of Two Cities. Probably the
Hmm.
most well-known opening words. And this is one sentence. It
It's
was
a
the best
far,
of
far.
times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. These are all commas, by the way. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. My God, that's a paragraph. That's not a sentence.
Hmm.
Dickens originally had written something much simpler. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. I think the editors did a good job there stepping in and could you beef this up a little bit? Could you unpack this for us?
Right.
As my professors used to say when you throw an offhand comment into the middle of a discussion, could you unpack that for me? Why, no, I couldn't. I was just filling time. This is one of the books that came up recently because one of my kids just read this for their assigned reading. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 1967 book, 100 Years of
100 Years of
Solitude,
Solitude.
yeah, which I read a long time ago.
Yeah, me too.
But it starts off with a great like flash forward. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember the distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice.
Oh, well.
That's awesome. Who is this guy? Why is he in front of a firing squad? This was long enough to go to when ice was like, holy crap, what is that stuff? The original line was much simpler. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia thought, did I leave the stove on? Brian, you ever read Bright Lights, Big City from Jay McHenry in 1984?
Nope.
I think McHenry was from the same group of authors that gave us the kind of the little cadre of friends there, like Donna Tartt, who gave us um, The Secret History, The Little Friend. What's his name? Bret Easton Ellis, who wrote Lesson Zero and American Psycho. I think he's from the
Mm.
same group of writers. I love this book. I discovered it in high school and read it at least a couple times because the movie of Michael J.
Oh, yeah,
Fox came
Multiple
out in
Fox, yeah.
'87 or '88 or so. And the first line of it is really fantastic because it gets you right into the heart of late '70s, early '80s Manhattan when it says, "You are not the kind of guy who would be at a place like this at this time of the morning." Second person narration, boom,
Mm.
you're in it. You are standing in for the narrator. The original line was really different. The original line was cocaine, 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 cocaine. And the editor's note was simple. Didn't work for Stephen King, won't work for you. Try something else. Brian, did you have to read, and I'm guessing you did, I know I did you have to read Melville's 1851 novel, Moby Dick?
Yes.
Do you remember what
Yeah.
the opening line is to Moby Dick?
Isn't it Call Me Ishmael?
Call me Ishmael. That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
It kind of, who is Ishmael? Apparently, he is, important to the story. What's going to happen to him? The original line was really different. The original line had a few extra words in there. It was,
Mm.
hey, sailor, call me Ishmael.
Ishmael.
This next book, book number 8 on the list, if we're paying attention, is one of my least favorite stories in all of the world. You probably know what's coming. I hate this book. I hated the little record that came with it as a kid. I threw it away. I hate the animated version of it. I hate any version of Peter Pan.
Mm.
J.M. Barrie's 1911, and I didn't know, I don't think I knew that it was a play first, and then he wrote the book. But anyway, 1911's Peter Pan, which I think is actually titled Peter Pan and Wendy.
Oh, it
Um,
could be, yeah.
I always hated the story. I didn't like Never Never Land. I didn't like the Lost Boys. I didn't like Captain Hook and the crocodile with the alarm clock in his belly. I hated all that crap.
Right.
Um, to the point where, like I said, I threw the record away. And then at one point, do you remember the little film strips the
Huh?
teachers would put in that were just film strips? One day in, I want to say it was like preschool, they put in Peter Pan, and I lost my shit and ran out of the room. I just couldn't handle it. Do you remember the opening line to Peter Pan?
No, well, not at all.
All children except one grow up.
Hmm.
Okay, because Peter Pan is
Okay.
the one that never grows up.
Right.
It was originally separated by a semicolon, and it continued. All children except one grow up. I'm not counting stillborns or childhood disease or accidents or infanticide.
Hmm.
I don't I don't know why the editors felt the need to take that out. But,
Kind of dark.
do you ever read any Mark Twain?
Yeah, tons. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I think at least 4 books that feature Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer at least out doing stuff. There's the short stories. They're the 2 big books, and this big book had a different beginning. Huckleberry Finn from 1884. It starts off and it says, "You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer." But that ain't no matter.
Hmm.
It's, I mean, he's admitting that he's a character in a book, right?
Right.
or at least
Right.
a story was told in a book, that continues. You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. But that ain't no matter. Shoot, I'm as postmodern and meta as all get out. I mean, heck, I know I'm a character in a book. One of your favorites, number 10 on the list, George Orwell's 1949 novel, 1984.
Hmm.
How does that start? Do you remember? You've quoted it before.
Oh, the clock
Mm-hmm.
striking 13. Right.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and all the clocks were striking 13.
13. Right. Right.
Yeah. It was originally written like this. It was a bright, cold day in April, and all the clocks were striking 13. They sounded like this: bong, 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 bong. And then it goes on for another 9 bongs or so.
Mhm.
I think he's getting paid by the word. I'm not sure. This is a book, this next one, number 11, is a book I've never read, but I kind of want to simply because the first line is one that I've heard all the time and I never knew it was from this book. It's from a book by L.P. Hartley from 1953 called The Go-Between.
Never even heard of it.
Unfamiliar with it. However, the opening line you probably are. The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Doesn't it? I mean, and it's a
Yeah.
great opening line because it's like, oh,
Uh,
we're about to dive into something nasty. The original line, which drew just question marks from the editors because they were like, what does this mean? The original line was, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. Like Pittsburgh. Yeah, Yenzer. Here's another one that I've never read, but I think I need to. Dodie Smith. Are you familiar with Dodie Smith? This book
no.
is from 1948. I think she was the author of 101 Dalmatians as well.
Okay.
But she wrote this book called I Capture the Castle, and it's about these three children, two older girls and a younger boy, and it's narrated by the middle girl. They move with their father and their new stepsister out to this crumbling castle. He's an author, and he's fallen on hard times. He's living off royalties, so he's having to work in this castle while he works on his next book. I've not read it. It sounds interesting. It also, with a crumbling castle, it sounds very King Gizzardy. I think there's a King Gizzard song called Crumbling Castle. Anyway, for 1948, this starts off with a very unusual. Why isn't she a little imp? The way this is starting off, the
Uh,
first line is, "I write this while sitting in the kitchen sink." Think about how unusual that might. I mean, it's unusual now, but think about how unusual it would have been in 1948.
right, right.
The original version, probably a typo, was, "I write this shitting in the kitchen sink." What is it with you and farts and poops today? Bryan, one of my favorite authors, one of your favorite authors, Paul S. F. Tompkins Thompson. No, Hunter S. Thompson from 1971, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, one of my favorite books, one of my favorite novels. It's got a great opening line, man. We were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold. We know we're in for a horror show. You're at the edge of the desert. I mean, Barstow, something bad's again would be happen.
Right.
Now, the editors didn't like this. And you can imagine how Hunter S. Thompson reacted to the editors not liking it. Yeah, let me get my gun. The editor's note was, this is too passive. Start with a series of interjections. Let's say, cocaine, 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 cocaine. Hunter S. Thompson replied, Jesus, calm down. There's plenty of cocaine coming. And there was. Um, okay, I know you've read this book, 1997's Into Thin Air by John Krakauer.
Hmm.
Yeah, great. Again, just beautifully written opening sentence. Straddling the top of the world, one foot in China and the other in Nepal, I cleared the ice for my oxygen mask, hunched a shoulder against the wind, and stared absently down at the vastness of Tibet. Just just an astonishing way to start. He's a hell of a writer, and I think I've read everything he's done now, and I always
Hmm.
come back to this book as just his descriptions of what it's like to be up there. It means his descriptions are so good. It means that I never had to go up there myself, which I never wanted to do in the first place because it
Right.
sounds fucking dangerous.
Right. Yeah,
The
absolutely.
the original opening line was, straddling the top of the world, one foot in China and the other in Nepal, I cleared the ice from my oxygen mask, hunched a shoulder against the wind, and stared absently down at the vastness of Tibet. I really needed to pee. And it's just, yeah, TMI, John. That was the editor's note. And finally, Bryan, what would a list about famous novels and their first lines be without one of our personal favorites, John Irving's
John Irving.
1989 novel, A Prayer for Owen Meany?
Yep.
I am doomed to remember a boy with a wrecked
Wrecked
voice,
voice.
not because of his voice, or because he was the smallest person I ever knew, or even because he was the instrument of my mother's death, but because he is the reason I believe in God. I am a Christian because of Owen Meany. Drops a lot of signposting in there. A lot of shit is going to happen.
Hmm.
Holy crap. Well, uh, you know, I'm a big John Irving fan. I just read his most
Oh
recent
yeah.
novel, which many people have speculated. I read it when it came out. The Last Chairlift. It's probably
Hmm.
going to be his last novel, is what the rumor is. I mean, he's like 82 or 83 by now.
Right.
Written almost everything the man's read everything the man's written. Just keep returning to John Irving and how great that first line is and the closing line, which I will not share because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't actually read the book. But originally, it was a very simple first line. I knew a kid once with a shrill voice and a huge schlong.
Hmm.
Editor's note: Schlong? Really? John, are you okay?
Question mark? You know you're Canadian, right?
Canadian American, yeah. So that's a brief look at some edited final lines with contributions from one of my sons regarding the stuck testicles to the sweaty thigh or the sweaty testicles to the thigh
Hmm.
bit. Another look at the fine world of literature through the lens of a grown man who should really know better by this point in his life.
Good point.
Any comments on first lines that I've missed that you um
So I was trying to recall because we've done opening lines and closing lines before in some other context. I forget what it was.
I think you
Um,
read them and I had to guess them. You did
that's
that
what it
for one,
was.
yeah. Yeah.
Because it's very simple, and I'm not going to get it right. I do still love. I think I figured out it's the opening line of the second chapter of one of the James Bond um,
Oh
books.
yes.
And the line is something along the lines of he stepped outside and lit his 40th cigarette of the day.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a
Simple, sweet.
great open line. Uh, and I was trying to recall what book opens with a line is a far better thing I do today that I've ever done. It's a far better
That's
place.
not an opening line. That's the end of Tale of Two Cities.
That's the end of it. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Spoilers, dude, for a book that's one of the lines that I found astonishing to the point where it's like I don't want to make fun of this because it's so good and she's so
Mm,
great. And again, I've only read two or three of her novels and it's been a long time. Toni Morrison's Paradise starts off with
mm,
they shoot the white girl first. I
mm.
mean, holy shit, that's just
Right. That's being thrown in.
yeah, it's brutal and it's right off the bat and you're like, holy crap. And that's what makes her such a great writer. And all these people on this list uh, are great writers, and of course, I respect them. Yeah, I'm just kind of goofing with them a little bit, but
Right.
those opening lines, man, when they hit you hard, they hit you hard. And uh, some of the ones I looked up suspiciously of great books I remembered, not very good first lines.
Mm,
Like Dostoevsky, not a lot of good first line, in my opinion.
right.
Um, I'm a big Dostoevsky fan, but when I look for closing lines and opening lines, it doesn't show up a lot.
Yeah. A
Uh,
little rough. Oh well.
Lots of great websites. It makes me kind of want to go back and reread a lot of Toni Morrison, but I want to go back and reread 100 Years of Solitude now that one of my kids just had to read it.
Hmm.
Um, I have no desire to ever read Moby Dick or any Herman Melville ever again.
No.
But I kind of want to read some Charles Dickens and some Louisa May
Hmm.
Alcott and some of the other stuff just because of what those first lines do for us. So,
Yeah. Great Expectations is actually I read and actually I did enjoy that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
whether I'm to
Uh,
be the master of my own fate
mhm.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I'm trying to think who wrote Count of Monte Cristo.
Alexandri dumbass.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another great book.
Yeah, I showed that to Anna in the bookstore and she was like, "That's a big book."
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Winters were long and cold and you needed lots to do.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
That was fabulous.
Bryan, let's what's our curse word of the week?
So, curse
And
of the
is it
week.
German?
I've been picking on our dear friends from Deutschland. I've been picking on them a little too much. This just comes straight from Urban Dictionary. Curse word this week is pucker factor. Pucker factor. You're free to guess if you'd like to.
Well, I am inclined to say that given that my favorite drink is an Arnold Palmer, that it's the amount of sourness that makes your lips pucker, but they're probably not talking about lips.
You are correct. So
Hmm.
a pucker factor is basically the score by which you measure the fear of a certain situation or activity. I'll read this literally. Pucker factor: the act of your sphincter grabbing some of the seat underneath you as it narrowly escapes a dire situation. Recently, in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, I was driving down I-35 just north of San Antonio, and got caught up in the middle of three guys on motorcycles racing.
Yeah.
And did the
Mhm.
like I had a pucker factor of 10 because I grabbed the leather of my driver's seat.
Your
So
seat wasn't brown before you started, but it was when you were done.
yes, pucker factor. So
So other pucker factors for me are when I was a kid, at least, running around the Texas Hill Country, the sound of a rattlesnake has a
oh
pretty high pucker factor, very high pucker factor.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Uh, I don't really have any like serious like roller coasters don't really freak me out. There was one time I was never afraid of flying. There's one time on a flight where we hit some pretty severe
Hmm.
turbulence. I mean I've had really good experiences overall, but there's one time where I knew for a fact that if I hadn't been buckled in, I would have come off the seat because like, oh shit, get this thing down. Yeah, so pucker
And given
factor of
that
10.
given that you're 6'4", you probably would have bounced off the roof
Yeah,
too. So,
crash. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, good time. So, anyway,
well,
just planting seeds, things that make you laugh.
I think that it's a good word, a good phrase to know, given what's going on in the
Hmm.
world. Because it seems like once a day I read a pucker factor story.
Yeah.
So,
All
and on
right.
that note,
Thanks for listening, folks. We appreciate you hanging in there. Check out Dream Idiots. Check out Crime Idiots. Again, that's gonna be stuff that we've repurposed from Dream Idiots and moved over there. But once every so often, there are some just true crime content episodes that will live there as well that you won't be able to find on Dream Idiots. It'll just be there. So subscribe to both, like and share them both. Give us some story ideas if you don't mind through our contact us page on the website. And as always, we appreciate you hanging in there and listening and liking and sharing our stuff. And special thanks to, I think I could see this week that two people down in the last week, the way I can sort of track downloads, found our stuff, logged in, and downloaded everything. So
oh,
there's a
awesome.
spike of the entire catalog, and someone subscribes and download all. And so there's this
Very
weird
nice.
spike. Right. So two folks did that in just the last week or so.
That is
So
fantastic.
yeah,
That's
very
what we
cool.
want. All right, folks, be good to each other. Catch you next time.